Hello, welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for No Parking Hare, and with me today, who's decided to park on my front doorstep, is my good friend Kamden Spies. Say hi.
Hey, well, also though, if I park on your doorstep, I think that means I've stolen a car.
But just to get underway, so as mentioned, this is No Parking Hare, released on the 1st of May 1954. It's the 709th in the series, and it's directed by Bob McKimson. You find this beautiful restoration on the Bugs Bunny 80th Blu-ray set, and I have a link below to that set. You will not find it on YouTube unless Warner Brothers themselves decide to upload it. It's under copyright, it'll just get taken down if someone else decides to do it.
Don't ask him.
Yeah, exactly. But in case you haven't seen this one, very straightforward. A freeway is being built, but of course it's being built around Bugs Bunny's home, and Bugs Bunny has to defend his home against this unnamed worker. I don't know if he even has a name or anything, but anyway.
Did we call him Hercules in this one, or is that the other one?
Yeah, because this may seem similar to you if you've seen the short Homeless Hare directed by Chuck Jones. And some have argued this is a remake. I would say it's not a remake.
Yeah, I don't think it's a remake at all. It's not a remake if the whole concept is different.
It's a similar sort of idea-ish where
Yeah,
Bugs Bunny's home is being torn down, so to speak, in order to make something. So in Homeless Hare, it's a apartment block, and in here, it's the freeway system. But
but
otherwise, it's different.
yeah, I think Homeless Hare is a better short,
I would
but
say so, but this one, it does have merit, though.
it does have merit. The reason why it's a better short is because it's more gag driven and dialogue driven, and it's also got the construction era. But I think by 1954, they had been done a lot, whether in Magoo cartoons or whether in, sleepwalking cartoons, like the one with Daisy and Donald came before this.
But it still has its own merit, as we already agreed, it definitely does. But it is interesting that it's a similar idea, but you've also got two different directors tackling a similar idea. So it's interesting to compare, but I'd say no, it's not a remake, it's just a similar idea because this was a very topical thing, the
Yeah.
topic of No Parking Hare, because if you've seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit, one of the best films ever made, I would argue, LA around this time, they were dismantling their tramway system and they were building all these freeways. They put all their bet into making these modern freeways, and now they're regretting it because it's just too much traffic and they should have kept the public transit system in. All these freeways were being built, and it's not just because of LA, but also they're trying to connect the entire country for military reasons and so on, so they can get from point A to point B a lot more efficiently. So, very topical. So, this short also features a first and a last. So, the first, well, sort of first. You got this short written by Sid Marcus. Now, he had already written a couple of shorts for Art Davis just before his unit was shut down. In fact, one of those shorts was
And
finished by McKimson.
and let's give a good plug to a very important Sid Marcus work of art, which is the Columbia character Scrappy from the 30s, as detoured in the greatest cartoon blog of all time, Scrappyland by Harry McCracken, as well as Steve Stanfield's cartoon research, which hopefully in 150 years, Anthony will let us all do Scrappy cartoons.
Some point, for sure. But this is the first short that Sid Marcus had written for a Looney Tunes short, and he's writing it for McKimson, and he's going to write quite a few of these shorts right up until roughly 1955, where all of the backlog pre-shutdown is caught up. But Sid Marcus does not return to the studio post-shutdown. Ted Pierce returns. And where's Ted Pierce now? Oh, he's off writing at all different studios, including UPA, where he wrote When Magoo Flew, which won the Academy Award for UPA. So, bit of a mix around, roughly around this point with the whole shutdown and other things. So, there you are. That was the first, but the last is that this is the last short featuring the ever elusive John T. Smith, who voices the worker here. And you may know him from, again, he was also voicing the worker in Homeless Hare, hence why people think this is a remake. He's in Hillbilly Hare, Chow Hound, Water Water Every Hare, so he's got a very distinct voice. But after this, poof, it's like he disappears. Even our good friend Keith Scott isn't quite sure what happens, and having a generic name like John T. Smith certainly doesn't help either.
No.
But there was one interesting reference that I'll get you to elaborate, Camden. It's Bugs reading a particular comic where,
Yes.
yeah, Poe's Kitty comic, and he's quoting the
Yes, he's
Ravens.
quoting the Raven, and he's quoting the Telltale Heart, let's point out too. Knocking at my chamber door is the Raven.
While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at me chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, "tapping at me chamber door."
But this is a reference to the horror and crime comic era, which was sweeping the nation of comic books, and of the backlash that Mr. Frederick Wortham wrote, the book that came out that exact same year called Seduction of the Innocent, which is full of hypocrisy and extremism about horror comics and crime comics, which were gory, but the only Dell comic book reference in Seduction of the Innocent was a Bugs Bunny comic book. And this was about racism in comic books. And this is one of the few things where I'm like, Wortham was right. And gasp, I'm sorry, but it's true. Wortham was right here. So I'm just reading the quote, and it says, "The same theme of race and ridicule is played up here in a good animal comic book, Bugs Bunny. Colored people are described as superstitious natives, and you only see them running away." This is on page 309 of Seduction of the Innocent, by the way. And it's covering a racist incident in comic book, and even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while.
I reckon we take a look at this short from start to finish, because this might surprise you, Camden, but this is actually the first time I've seen this short, believe it or not. I've had that
Oh.
Bugs Bunny set for ages, and I was more familiar with Homeless Hare than this one, and I watched it, and I've got to say, I liked it. It was funny, but I have noticed that McKimson's really simplifying his style now. Backgrounds, animation.
That's where I think
everything.
UPA plays play.
Bingo. Yeah, 100%. And it's not the first short. He's done, like, There Ought to Be a Law and those sort of shorts where it's very UPA influenced, but here he goes even further where Bugs Bunny actually appears out of place in this short because he's still like this 40s design character, but he's like in this 1950s aesthetic, you know?
This will only lead to the #1 masterpiece next year, which is the whole idea.
I actually can't wait to cover that one. I do like that short. But it's very interesting. You've got a 40s designed character, and he's still animated in that way, but yet everything else is 1950s stylized. Is it bad? No, but it's just an interesting contrast between the different styles here, and he tries his best to make it work.
The first time I ever saw this short was in a stream with Will Friedwald.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
showing Bugs Bunny cartoons randomly. He showed this one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, someone recommended it, so he showed it.
Oh,
Jerry
wow.
was there, and Daniel Goldmark was there, and all sorts of different people were there.
Watching this short, I would say this is very entertaining. It's not one of McKimson's finest. Yes, you can see evidence of some budgetary issues here and there, but for the most part, look, I like it. When we start off, what I like is that it establishes that, yep, the whole freeway thing's happening, which again would have been very topical, especially for people in LA, with signs saying, hey, new freeway here, new freeway there, and so on and so forth. But I like in the beginning that this is actually not in the music cue sheet, but it definitely sounds like a conga version of Powerhouse. It's not quite Powerhouse. Apparently, it's not. Like, a few notes are different. Maybe they just didn't want to pay for the rights again to use it. But it definitely sounds like Powerhouse, and it's a conga style. But it's a nice little way to start it. And sure enough, we go down this hole and we see Bugs Bunny asleep. And how many times have we seen this setup, right? Where Bugs Bunny's trying to sleep in his home and he's woken up. I know Waterwood Every Hare starts similar. But I have to wonder, though, and I know this is just a background thing. It's not meant to mean anything, but I am curious when I looked at that photo that's near Bugs Bunny's bed. There's like a mustached person just... And
I saw that too, yeah.
I'm like, I wonder if that's meant to be anyone. I think it's just a random, oh yeah, let's just put a picture here. It's not meant to have any deep meaning, but still, it's interesting to see the backgrounds. But why on earth does he have a sign saying Be Bunny at the end of his bed? Like, no one's living with him. Who cares? But yeah, I just think it's funny. So, of course, he's half asleep. There's construction noise. He gets some water in there. He goes to sleep, and boom, he's annoyed that all his dirt lands on him. So he goes up, and he talks to the worker who explains they're building a freeway. And Bugs is like, oh, I thought I was having a bad case of termites. So, it's a nice little start. But then Bugs does a double take, and sure enough, it's like, wait a minute, this is my home.
Freeway? Hold it, Mac. Hold it. Hold it. There must be some mistake. You see, a freeway through here would wreck my home.
Well, why don't you sell it?
Sell it? Now who'd want to buy a hole?
And this is clever. It actually addresses something that they didn't have to address, which is, oh, you can't knock down my home. Oh, why didn't you sell your home? Oh, well, who would buy a hole? And then it's like a man's home is his castle. So in just a few lines of dialogue, it's like, oh yeah, we got rid of the bit that people might question, 60 or so years after the fact on a random YouTube channel,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, nobody thought, nobody nerds like you doing this, Anthony.
Exactly. But Sid Marcus apparently did, so thumbs up to Sid Marcus, right? All hail Sid Marcus for having the foresight to address one particular plot point about why didn't Bugs sell his home, because when they were building the freeways, they had to tear down a lot of homes to do so, to make the on-ramps and such. So, of course, they offered to buy the homes. I'm pretty sure you can find some animated TV shows which have a similar premise. I know there's even one Simpsons episode where Sideshow Bob, just in the act of pettiness, decides to build an expressway through the Simpsons' home and they're about to demolish it. So, it happens. So there's my Simpsons reference right there. I do like the bit of animation where Bugs is going down his hole, but instead of just going straight down, McKimson adds the extra touch of him going down like a spiral staircase. I don't know, just little touches like that I enjoy. But the first thing the builder tries to do is put a whole bunch of explosives to blow up the hole, which makes sense. So this builder isn't stupid, except for 1-2 bits, but he's come up with a decent idea here. But the hole, in cartoon logic form, just stays in this one long tube. It's like, okay, so we've set everything up. This is our premise, that now this builder has to get to this hole and get rid of it so we can build his freeway. And of course, in the sign of economy, it's just one worker versus Bugs. There's no other character animated in this entire short. It's just 2 characters. That's it. So there's your economy right there. And fair enough. Fair enough. It works like this anyway. But we start off initially where, again, the builder's not stupid. He thinks logically, hey, I'm going to put a ladder up. Okay.
Yeah, he becomes the thinker, actually.
And sure enough, Bugs just chops it down. And we get some wonderful expression of the builder's like, uh-oh, and he falls down.
Oh, no.
We're up to the Kitty comic bit, which we've already discussed, but I like this gag. This is probably my favorite gag in the short, where the saw is cutting through, which again, the builder's not stupid. Yeah. It's actually a good idea. So it goes through, but in cartoon logic, Bugs puts detour, the saw detours into electricity, and we get some beautiful freeze frames of some wonderful artwork styles. That's probably my favorite bit.
Mine too.
Yeah, it's great. And it's, again, a great way to cut down on the budget costs, because you just got to hold a still image for a little while for each and every pose he changes to. It works. It's fun. I like it. So anyway, the next part, Bugs sings a song which I can confirm is an original piece for this short. It's not a parody of any song, because sometimes he'll sing, instead of No Place Like Home, he'll sing No Place Like Rome.
Usually when a cartoon character pulls out a banjo, it's not usually a song with tasteful history.
Yeah, but in this case, it's an original where he sings about Ain't No Place Like a Hole in the Ground. Nice and catchy. Yeah, it works.
There ain't no place like a hole in the ground, a hole in the ground, a hole in the ground. There ain't no place like a hole in the ground with a big fat guna floating around. There ain't no place like a hole in the ground, hole in the ground, a hole in the ground. There ain't no place like a hole in the ground with a big fat guna.
But somehow this builder approaches with a helicopter, so he must have a lot of authority to do what he needs to do for these freeways, and somehow they have a helicopter. I don't know many construction sites that have one, but anyway. And let alone one with a bomb too. But wiki gag, the bomb's thrown, bounces off the bed, destroys the helicopter. So we're on the next part, and this is one of the parts where the builder gets a little bit stupid, but you can't really blame him because Bugs disguises himself as a worksite supervisor of sorts, and he says, yep, I'll help you direct this particular pounding machine. And this expression on the worker's face when he's trying to make sure he's following the instructions diligently because he doesn't want to lose his job. It's a similar gag that was done in Homeless Hare. In Homeless Hare, Bugs disguises himself as a supervisor too. He does the same here and says, yeah, I'll help you direct this machine. And it ends up crushing the machine the worker is in.
Higher, higher, hold it. Now swing back about a foot. That's it, right on the button. Okay, Mac, start pounding.
So similar idea, but way different execution. But here it works. It's fun. I like it. So sure enough, again, this worker's not stupid. He decides, hey, I'm going to build all this scaffolding to get to the top, which makes complete sense. What's a great bit of timing is that he builds all this scaffolding, which is all hollow tubes. Bugs puts this lit up match that somehow goes through, lights up the dynamite, and sure enough, yeah, he just blows up and makes a nice expression again. So we get a lot of quickie gags, but at least they're funny. I like them. So, sure enough is enough. And the ultimate plan is afoot where he has that special machine where these days they use pumps and massive pipes to dump concrete. Here it's just this little machine. I don't even know what it's called. So again, in the comments, guys, let us know what it's called. He puts concrete in and Bugs uses it as an opportunity to make his home more or less permanent and even puts a nice little letterbox in. And sure enough, the builder is like, you know what? I think at this point he just gives up because we now see the newspaper. And what's interesting about this newspaper?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know that thing says, this was Willie, who loves bread and sweets, was gradually losing his girlish figure. This fact itself was distressing but dreadful. Part of the whole business was none of his clothes would fit. Willie was faced with a dilemma, either reduce or buy a new wardrobe.
It's like, what is that thing? I mean, granted, look, we all know that they tend to take random clippings, and of late they would use the Warner Club News. Here, they just would have taken something from maybe a newspaper that was lying around. But what is this story? What on earth is this story?
But then it gets into like Greeks and champagne. I sell champagne. It says, feels for the car I was expecting for hauling blondes and champagne to the river.
I don't understand. I mean, the Big Town Squawk is a very interesting newspaper, in other words. Ah, boy. Yeah. It's probably one of those things that's just lost to time, but it's very, very bizarre. We can see it in all its glory in this wonderful HD print. But we get now a similar ending to Homeless Hare, where there's a compromise made.
This is where Homeless Hare is pretty much this.
Yeah, compromise is made. So Homeless Hare, they build around Bugs' home, those apartment blocks, and here they just divert the freeway around Bugs' home. If there's any engineers looking at this review, let us know if they would do it in this way, because I would imagine they would make a deviation a little bit more wider than this. But anyway, cartoon logic. And Bugs is all patriotic at the end, saying that the sanctity of one's home must be preserved. So we got to end on that sort of note. So in terms of rating, all right, this one will not end up being a go too short, and you can tell that there are budget constraints here. But in saying that, it doesn't affect the short that much. It's funny. It's not maybe a standout, but it's a nice, simple idea. It's funny.
This cartoon is a much funnier short if you look closer than it is itself. Because you've got this weird newspaper text, you've got the Poe references, you've got the art references. That's a much better cartoon for that sake than it is for gag-wise.
But it's still fun. If it's on, I'll watch it. 8.5 out of 10. I think it's fine.
I'd say that exact same rating for me.
Yeah. It would have been an 8 if it wasn't for that newspaper part, I would think, you know. That 0.5 comes just for the newspaper.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
There we are. But that will do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And until next time, take care.
The sanctity of the American home must be preserved.